Act Natural with John and Courtney is a lifestyle podcast exploring the entrepreneurial culture in a practical way. Tune in to hear these two millennials balance their 6 businesses, small town politics, nonprofit, and a new baby who refuses to sleep through the night. This is Act Natural with John and Courtney. My chair's so squishy.
This is John and Courtney with the Act Natural show. Oh, should we call it a show or a podcast?
I think that we should say, this is Act Natural with John and Courtney.
The podcast, and we are so excited to be here. We've been trying to do this for a long time, and it is long overdue. Courtney and I are finally on speaking terms in our marriage enough to have our own podcast. And what are we talking about today, Court?
Okay, so today we're going to talk about playing in the sandbox.
Sandbox. What's the sandbox?
So the sandbox is just like whenever you're a kid and you go to the playground and you're all excited and you've got your shovel and your pail and you're ready and you're going to go have fun, and then you get in a sandbox and you're ready to build a fortress, but you find that there's some other kids in there. And maybe they're building some fortresses too.
I can relate to this.
And maybe someone else wants to come up and mess with your stuff and steal your pail.
Screw them.
And you're working on a moat and they just fill it full of trash. And so this is a example of playing in the sandbox, what that means being grown-ups, what that means being a business owner. What does a sandbox look like for you? What does a sandbox look like for me? Who's in there with us? And what are the rules?
I was told this when we first started Martin Coffeehouse a year and a half ago in Martin, Tennessee. We bought a 100-year-old building. We renovated it. Courtney was very passionate about coffee. We installed it inside this place. I was very aggressive. I was very capitalist. I love competition. I love coffee. I wanted to be number one. And I was told very quickly, about maybe 6 months in, John, you have to play in the sandbox. And I'll be honest with you, it took about, up until 3 months ago for me to actually believe that, because it was very difficult for me to learn how to play well with others. I don't know if you know anything about us. I don't know if you know if I'm aggressive and Courtney's super sweet. That's sort of our dynamic. Wouldn't you say, Court?
I mean, people, I think as the members in the community might see one of us a bit softer and one of us a bit pricklier. Nice. But if they got to know us, they'd know that we're probably the opposite of that. You probably have a kinder heart than I actually do. Playing
in the sandbox, being nice to other people is completely important. I think it really centers around what people want. I think with giving value to people. I believe that the community does not want to see businesses fight. They don't want to see conflict. They don't want to see people try to run off other people in competition. It's very socialistic. We all want to give each other kind of one big giant hug where people can have more options to go and to shop to. That's hard for a business owner because your whole life is on the line. Every sale that we make goes into providing Little Henry's college fund.
Little Henry's college.
If he chooses to go to college, I'm not really sure. But it really is hard. Like when you're dealing with being a business owner and trying to carve out your part of the market, it's so easy to get caught up in heavy competition and lose track on the reason why you exist. And the reason why we exist inside of this area, why we have the businesses that we do, the 6 businesses that we do, and all the different projects that we work on, is to give value to people. And it took me a while to realize that in order to give real value to people is to play nice, is to play in the sandbox. I wish it would not have taken me so long to learn that, but it's hard to balance that.
So what is an example of playing in the sandbox for you? And you said getting along with others.
Okay, so there are 4 places to get coffee right now, if you want to count like fast food places.
We do. We want to count everything.
Well, okay, there's several places to go get coffee. And there's a new business that popped up a little bit ago that had been pretty aggressive with us in the past. And they were having their grand opening. And without knowing, we were doing like a free cupcake giveaway on that day, free mini cupcakes. When we found out that their grand opening was on that day, we switched the day because it would have really hindered the whole energy of that.
Switch the day so that it wouldn't have taken away.
Yeah, don't overlap. Like
business.
I think it's like being mindful, like being aware that other businesses are trying to make a living in this space, that consumers want to consume more than one space, absolutely, and that if things overlap, that you move those dates, that you move that time. And that's what we did, and it was an easy thing to do. But a year ago, I would have purposely done that. Just being honest, like it was
The prickly would have come out.
Yeah, sure, if you want to call it that. It's not the whole, a rising tide floats all boats. It is, I'm going to build the strongest business in the world, and I'm going to drown everybody else around me. And that's terrible. And that attitude led to us like losing some stuff. I mean, I feel like it created a toxic work environment. I think it created just bad energy,
Well, I really want to give you credit in that. I think that we've, as a team, have really grown and matured out of a lot of those old I'm not going to say habits, but old impulses.
It comes back. I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, if something goes where, like, we want our sales to be higher, or we see that we're being, like, targeted again, obviously it's a reflex. You're so nice. You're so sweet. Always. The joy you have. You're such a nice person. I have some nice tendencies, but my reflex is not to be nice, and you've taught me a lot about that.
I don't like conflict. That's where it comes out of.
I don't mind. I try to say I don't enjoy that. I mean, I don't stir it up. I definitely don't mind a fight, but I think now you've really shown me what the value is, or really the lack of value inside of constant conflict with other people. It's about people.
Thank you.
Yeah.
On that, one, appreciate it. Two, I think that as a counter, it's been nice to see, and I'm squishing my chair too much. Okay.
It's okay.
It's been nice to have an example of someone who isn't afraid, or for someone who doesn't cower if something is being done wrong. I have seen a lot of times in my life, from being itsy bitsy and growing up and being part of different systems, going to school, working in different environments, where there was a conflict or there was something that needed to be addressed, and the person in charge was too nervous to address it because they didn't want someone to not like them, or they didn't want to be in a place where they had to call someone out and say that someone was doing something incorrectly or not up to standard. And I think that through being in a relationship with you, I've been able to see that with our different operations and different things that we've had going on, of no matter what, let's always try to maintain a standard. And if that means we've got to get on to someone or create a new policy for something and be the ones that enforce that, then that's what has to happen.
Yeah, it's not out of anger. Like, I think people who are really passionate people do not have such a hard time trying to maintain a standard, because it's for a reason. It's not that I'm like somebody's an angry person, they're always getting on to people. And I think that there's a massive disconnect sometimes with new people that even come and work for us. We have around 20 employees right now. I say around 20 because it's always in flux.
Oh, what is our place of employment for the 20?
Well, for the 20, we have Martin Coffeehouse, Fernway Fox, Good Morning Martin. We have 1822. 1822 is a coffee company inside of Huntington, Tennessee that's about 3 months old.
No.
2 months. 1 month?
April.
I have a problem with time. It started in April. But there's this constant flow. And a lot of people do not understand the passion behind wanting to do something to the fullest of your ability. And I cannot freaking stand when someone, if they're only here for a month, if you're only going to do something for a short amount of time, you cannot let the amount of time that you're doing that dictate the percentage of yourself that you give for that job. What I'm trying to say is that be all of who you are, where you are, all of the time. If I'm going to wash my car, I'm going to wash it to the best of my ability. If I'm going to be a barista, I'm going to be the best freaking barista that there is. And there's a lot of half people out there. They live half lives. They cut up their time. They're trying to reserve something for something else. And it's really damaging when you're not giving all of yourself all the time, because you don't know. You have to try things. And that's been very difficult to run all that we have, to have that passion for excellence and wanting to provide value for people, and then still be faced with It's a lack of understanding. It's a cultural thing with that. And, if you're going to be in a sandbox, you do got to draw some lines. And you do have to build your own tower, I guess, to go back to what you're saying, so to speak. Your fort, right? You got to build your own fort. That's got to be up to code. It's got to have some standards with that. And building a team to maintain those standards has been the most challenging part of my life. And now, once I have pulled out the aggressiveness and trying to fight with other businesses, it's freed up a lot of bandwidth to focus on our own team, and that's the only way that you succeed.
Right.
I was really focusing in on what you have going on.
For sure. So you talked about approaching things, all there. If you're washing your car, it's all everything that you've got. If you're being a barista, it's everything you've got. So I think about that a lot, and then I wonder how realistic that is. And I don't mean to challenge anything about what we're saying for our business, but I'm just kind of thinking culturally, since you brought up that. How often do you think people actually do that? How often do you think people say, I'm going to make the best bed ever? Don't you think that people only approach that sometimes? They only have that mindset whenever it comes to something that's going to, count for, I don't know, they'll approach it to the gym maybe, or they'll approach it to a job, but they don't really approach it to, I'm going to make the best
that's the problem,
chicken
though.
Tacos ever.
No, well, that's the problem. There's no excellence. People are not excellent driven, and it takes being disciplined inside the very small things to then, when it really counts, you've had all this practice. And absolutely, it is extreme. But for people who want to be more and want to do more, want to have more, and they're not happy with where they're at, it takes an extreme mentality switch. It takes an extreme change. And I believe that waking up in the morning and making the best beds you've ever made, and then making the best coffee you've ever made, and then being disciplined with your workout schedule, when it comes time and the pressure's really on, and you're put on the spot to judge your character, where your character can shine, it's going to be natural. It's going to be an automatic response. But right now, we're lazy. Right now, it's a constant procrastination, and the greatest tool is grabbing for your phone. I don't want to get out of bed and make my bed right now. I'm just going to grab my phone and get on Facebook. I don't want to really do that. I'm just going to get on my phone and do that. And it's devaluing small tasks and grouping them in with saying, I'm not going to be on this journey of excellence. And I don't relate, and I wish that I could have more empathy inside of it, but I believe I'm destined for greatness. I want it. It's inside of me. I want to be able to be disciplined enough to have that, and I strive for that every single day. And I don't understand why people live a life that's not full of that, because they can have it as discipline.
I understand, and I empathize. I get it, because I struggle with it, and I understand 100% why someone doesn't hop right out of bed and instead they want to check on Facebook or something. I totally get it. And the thing about, people always wonder, well, John, how do you do so much? Well, it's because you're this way. It's because you are disciplined and you are excellent.
I don't want to the thing is I understand that, and you've taught me that. I used to really struggle with not understanding why people didn't do more with their lives. And then it really switched to saying, okay, fine, if you're happy, be happy.
Right.
But there should be some excellence there. I think that there should be some drive to living life. It comes down to this, and my mentality is built upon this principle, which is that I believe that all time is a gift. I do believe in God. I believe that He has gifted me with time. I don't believe that I deserve the time that I have been given. And I look at it as that. I feel blessed every single day with every second that I have. Why would I waste that? How could I waste this beautiful thing that's been given to me? And you have taught me inside of this journey that there obviously is a time for everything. There's a time for rest. And I've very much struggled with resting and taking pause, but there's time that's meant and dedicated for that. There's a time for family, and a time for work, and a time for leisure, and all of that. But it starts with an appreciation of what you have. And let me say that I think the root of all of this stuff is that people feel so deserving without nothing earned.
Okay.
They think that they deserve to have time off, that it is an offensive thing to wash dishes, that they don't believe that a schedule that is uncomfortable should be agreed with. Oh my, I can't stand that. What do you mean? what have you earned? I struggle with this, and you've taught me so much, but there are so many days that I will go after very hard days. Do I deserve to sleep? Have I done enough? And I know that it's extreme and unrelatable in a lot of ways, and you've really helped me with that. But let me say, that dedication has led to 6 businesses.
Yeah.
That has led to financial freedom. That has led to our nonprofit expanding throughout 3 different countries. It's been a massive thing, and you don't necessarily should strive for all of that, but there should be an appreciation of time.
Right.
And then there will be a dedication of the value that you give to that.
I get it. I totally get it.
We're opposites, man. My gosh. It's been 3 years. I know this.
We got married in December of 15.
December of 15. And I'm sure you can already tell, like, Courtney and I...
No, 17.
Okay, that's on you.
No, 15.
15? What are you talking about?
I don't have the pillow.
18,
I have a seller's pillow. Caroline Parrish got it for us for...
It's 3 years. Okay, I'm in the same boat as you.
19.
You cannot get upset about this.
Why don't I know when we got married?
Well, we're on this new podcast thing, and it's really great. So we're nervous. We've been married for some time now, and you can tell that we've been opposites. How have you played in the Sandbox with me, man?
Oh my God, yes. We have our own Sandbox. I definitely have a Sandbox with John Sellers, and what that means is I've got my fort, you've got your fort, you stay away from my fort. No,
well, hey, I mean, real talk has been that way a little bit sometimes.
It has been that way a lot. A lot of the time, especially at the beginning, it would be like, hey, Court, I'm building all these forts, and you're really good at moats, so I need you to put moats on all of these forts. And next thing I know, I am like neck high in, digging moats.
Let me tell you.
3 a.m, and I wasn't even ready for a moat. I haven't even finished the, turrets on my
I like these analogies.
Fort over there.
Let me tell you a big mistake that I made in the beginning. And this applies to Courtney, and it also applies to a lot of the volunteers that got burnt out with us in the beginning of Letters in Motion and Sustainable Literacy. And out of my desperation, I depended on people and put people inside of positions that they should have never been inside of. And then I questioned their loyalty and their passion and their drive and their understanding, their motive in life. This is terrible. I was terrible. And I put all of that on large amounts of people, and it burned a lot of people out. It
was very one way. It's so funny. We were just watching that Ashton Kutcher, Steve Jobs film, and I'm not going to make too many comparisons here, but he did have this one line, you're either for me or you're against me. And it was kind of an attitude at the beginning of operations with Letters in Motion and Sustainable Literacy. There was so much to do. And
there was too much to do.
There was too much to do, and we didn't have all of the knowledge. We had classes we were balancing. We're creating logos. We're trying to make films. We're shooting weddings to make money, and we're organizing T-shirt drives and trying to come up with other ways to fundraise to get the money.
Over 10 states. It was ridiculous.
To get the money that we needed to get the plane tickets and to buy the... we didn't have literacy packs on that first trip, but we did raise money for structures after the earthquake happened in April. And we did all of these things, and it just, by the time we got there, we were just so tired and spent. And then, of course, I'm not going to get too much into that first trip. It was such an incredible trip, but I think while being incredible, it was, how did we get here? How did we do this? Everything was just a blur. And we realized we can't operate that way.
No, it was like an engine that was running twice the speed that it could.
Grabbing everyone and just help me or get down.
Downhill at 1,000 miles an hour, bolts flying off, right? And I'm piecing it and holding it together with everything in me. And let me tell you that it worked to the detriment, but it worked.
It did work.
15,000 letters, handwritten letters collected for students in Kenya, Uganda, Nepal, school desks, inside of Nairobi, temporary structures in Nepal, a well inside of India. We accomplished it. It happened, but we got burnt, and then it really switched with us. And I know we're going to talk about this in like another podcast, and not to get like super into the weeds here, but it was
our first big sandbox.
My golly! But it took a realization that you can't run like that. You have to build your fort, right? You have to build your skill and widen your base and figure out how to do it in a sustainable way. And it has taken me for the past 10 years of my life to figure out how to build a self-sustaining model in a sustainable way for us, Courtney, Grace, and for now our future family with Henry, and for all of our employees and our volunteers and everything. It's taken everything to be able to realize that. But I don't know. I am still learning a lot and playing in the sandbox, being nice with other businesses, sharing resources. It takes a constant focus on community. It takes a look inward to question your motives. Is it to be the best? Is it to make the most money? Or is it to give value to the people around you?
Right.
Value to our customers and to our employees and to each other? Is it to build up or is it to tear down? And I think if your motives are aligned, then you'll come out, but it just takes being aware of that. And I'm so prone to the negative part, you know?
And people have different motives in the sandbox. People are there wanting different things. Some people are there to get something for themselves, to network for themselves, pass out some cards. If you want business, I'm here. Other people are there, open arms. I want to help anyone. You know, I want to help you with this venture. I've got the hours. I'm here to help you with this. I want to volunteer with this. I want to help with the next meeting and bring free snacks. Other people are, they got their guard up. They want to take down other people.
What do you mean by that? I mean, what do you mean by identifying that?
I just think it's important to know that wherever your sandbox is with different community members or different people in your work, sometimes people are there for different reasons. And I think it's important not to be naive, and you don't want to show all your cards, if you know what I mean.
I think I know what you're saying.
But it's also, there's nothing wrong with having an open heart and being helpful. I have seen, my mom works at FedEx in Memphis, and she has told me stories of, different people rubbing shoulders, getting to know each other, saying, hey, I may have a spot for you in this department. And then next thing you know, they use that against someone.
Well, people suck.
What?
No, they do. No, people are always like that. But I think, and I've dealt with my share of people in business and in personal life and all of that. But I keep on trying to say, focus on you, focus on the value that you're giving. Realize that people, give them the benefit of the doubt, but have your guard up.
That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely. I think it's absolutely right.
It's just important to know that not everyone is out there to be your best friend and to make memories and to dig trenches with you.
No.
Some people are there to take your shovel.
Absolutely. And I think that even with employees and giving value to people, you need to identify what value you have to give. People are going to ask you for more. They're going to demand more. They're going to try to suck you dry of everything. But you really have to say, this is what I have to give, and give that. My mom is the sweetest, and I will say the sweetest.
I think everyone loves your mom.
A person I know. And she has a servant's heart. And she gives, and every person that she's there, she fills them up. And one big thing that always used to bother me a little bit was that it was so easy for her to just give so much to be empty, and then for that not to be reciprocated. People who are giving and have that giving servant's heart inside of a business context, if we want to put it to the business owner,
sure,
has a much harder road, I think, than someone that is builds those high walls for it. Because givers want to give to their community, but they also want to give to their competition, because the motive is not to build necessarily the best, but it is to serve the most.
Serve the most.
Yeah.
To give the community more.
So we're talking about balance, right?
Right.
We're talking about how can I give of myself to sacrifice with nothing coming back to me, without depleting myself and hindering my home life.
Okay.
How can I do that? I have no idea how to do that. I think it comes with identifying what you need. This is the time I need with my wife and my son. This is the time that I need by myself. You need alone time. This is the time that my business needs. And this is what I have left over to give. Give that. Don't go in the negative. Don't sacrifice the family. Don't sacrifice that, because it's not worth it. I think my dad says, it would be real shame for you to go build a $1 million company or go buy whatever, and then to lose home life, and then to lose the most important thing, which is what life is all about. And so if I had to bring it all back to a point, as Courtney is looking at the timer,
I'm trying to.
Our point in playing in the sandbox is to know the value that you have to give, to know yourself and what you can give, right? Know what you want to give, know what you have to give.
Don't give away your best shovel.
And don't you're killing me with these shovels and forks. And
I had some cool ones as a kid.
And then to be that for people, because if you are so blessed to have a passion for service, then it will demand all of you, but you have to know that you have to take care of yourself first. You do. You have to have a home life, and you have to know how to fill yourself up to then give to others. No one ever changed the world by not developing themselves first.
Right.
And I'll say, it's the last thing I'll say, is that there are a lot of college students that see a video, or they'll go on a week-long trip to Honduras or Dominican Republic, wherever. They'll get so filled up and then dedicate their whole life right then.
Okay, yeah.
And then they'll quit college. They'll not develop any personal skill. And I'm just going to go do this. I'm going to go serve them. Let me tell you that the day that I realized that my presence inside of Nepal was not enough. Me, sitting down around a fire, no money, no resources, no connections.
What, 19, 20?
19 years old, just sitting there, being asked why I was there, and me saying, oh, I have nothing to give. Your presence is not enough. Developing skills for yourself, building resource in a sustainable way is what really makes the world a different place. It really gives you the access to building something greater than yourself. But that's a real hard lesson to learn. And when you're young, and I'm still young, but when you're young, that's a hard-hitting thing, because, wow, you mean me just standing there in the middle of that country is not helping people? No, it's not helping people. Are you crazy? What are you giving? What are you doing? You're dropping in for a week and leaving? Come on. Let's be real right now. Where's the long-term impact? And that's what I realized, and it took me 10 years to build something of a very small scale to do anything. We donate 10 cents a cup of our coffee shop in Martin, Tennessee, to reading libraries in Nepal. So far, last year we sold 50,000 cups of coffee. It built our first small library. Right now we're on track to building a large-scale library in Jumla, Nepal. And that's a drop in the water, man. But it's my part, and it's what I can do without emptying myself in a sustainable way. And I think that is what playing in the sandbox is all about.
Okay, so I attend the Leche League meetings in this area, which is basically a time for breastfeeding moms to come together and touch base and support each other.
Super awesome.
Super awesome. Super cool that our city offers it, because I have learned so much and felt so much support from this group. And usually you'll only see it in bigger communities, so shout out to Martin for doing that. But one thing that they say there is the take it or leave it approach, which is that you're going to hear a lot of women offer a lot of advice, or even the Leche League kind of way of thinking. And you may not necessarily agree with something, but you're not going to disrespect anyone, and you're not going to call anyone out on anything.
Oh, okay.
So you can take it or you can leave it.
Yeah.
But it's important to hear people out. And then there's other times where it's like, I don't really think I'm going to do that, but it's nice to know.
Oh,
thank you for that.
Like vaccinations.
What?
I mean, at these meetings, people are sharing like their thoughts and ideas on like vaccinations and
no,
not vaccinations.
they weren't talking about vaccinations.
Oh, okay.
No, they're talking about like, you're pumping too much or...
This is fascinating. I'm sorry. No, I'm getting to what you're saying. It's a take it or leave it approach.
It's a take it or leave it approach. It's like, La Leche League really supports like co-sleeping and stuff like that. And a lot of people are really against that. So don't go on a high horse, just hear people out and then move on, Yeah. But what I'm trying to say is in the sandbox, in the business sandbox, in the family sandbox, in the workplace or school sandbox, sometimes you just need to be respectful and hear people out.
Okay.
You may not always want the little star fold, the little star form. You put it in the sand and it makes a star. You may not want that on your fort.
Courtney is saying, what she's directly saying to me is that I never supported a lot of these organizations that I should have in the beginning. I did not want to join the local MBA. I did not want to join any of these organizations. I did not listen to any advice. And when someone gave me advice, I would tell them why it was wrong in point by point, detailed description on how that was a terrible idea. And Courtney, once again, taught me how to respect people's ideas because they are valuable and they do have attention that should be given to them. And it's about respecting people where they're at. Just because you don't do it doesn't mean you're not giving respect to them.
I think it's an important thing to talk
agree.
about. I think if you're going to be out there in the grown-up sandbox, I think it's important, key to success, take it or leave it, hear people out. And then on the other side of that, don't be offended if you have something you really want to share with someone or you have a piece of advice or maybe you've been there before and they straight up don't listen to you.
Oh, God.
Because sometimes there are lessons that people have to learn for themselves.
Well, that's most lessons, I would say.
Well, I think that you've been there too.
Yeah. I'm not saying I've messed up more than most. I've boldly tried to go as fast as I can, and it's been very bullheaded, and I've gotten beat down. I made a bunch of mistakes. I've tried to pull back and listen to your counsel more, but you should always listen to your wife's counsel. See, I was told that all my life. Happy wife, happy life. Listen to your wife. Didn't do that in the beginning. That went over great. But I think playing in the sandbox definitely requires that. Guys, I want to thank you so much for listening to this podcast. We are ecstatic. We're so excited. It's our first one. I'm excited to get some alone time with Courtney, just talking about everything in a systematic way. This is the... Oh, wait, you should close it out, shouldn't you? They're going to say I talk too much. You got to...
This is the Act Natural podcast with John and Courtney.
We are so thankful that you listen to this. We are going to try to do this weekly. Yes? Weekly. If we don't get to it, you can hold us accountable and send us hate mail at P.O. Box. I'm joking. We are so thankful that you listen to this. We're going to be back soon. Okay, that's it.